and really create the type of offers that, could be the next big hit, but you wouldn't know what that is unless you looked at your numbers and said, oh, well, we started here and we improved and we're making progress and we're growing, versus we have no idea where we started. We have no idea where we're going. And we're just like, hoping that it all work out at the end. And we say, hope is not a strategy because it's true. The numbers don't lie. And either you got results or you didn't get results. So going back to the numbers really just becomes a foundational aspect of running business.
Welcome to the Business Ownership Podcast, brought to you by Awareness Strategies, helping you navigate the waters between entrepreneurship and ownership. Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedelec, and I'm super glad that you're here with us today because I'm here with my most amazing guest, Carla. Carla, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited for our conversation today.
Awesome. So tell everybody who you are and what you do for business.
Yeah, I'm Carla Titus. I'm the founder and owner of Wealth and Worth Within. We're a fractional CFO firm that provides financial advising and consulting to business owners that are growing. And we also provide professional bookkeeping services for those that maybe are struggling with their current support and need someone that knows what they're doing from the accounting and finance side to come support them as they grow their business as well, to make sure they have a solid foundation.
I love it. So how did you get into accounting and being a CFO is your thing?
Yeah, so I went to school for it. So I have an undergrad in finance and an accountant mom. And I knew I didn't want to be an accountant for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I preferred to go the finance route in my career. And then I did 11 years of corporate finance. And in starting consulting for companies in the last 5 years, I realized that they did not have access to the expertise around financial planning and projections and mapping out what they want their business to do for them financially, and to help them understand that they can take control of that and that they can get excited about their numbers and really create the reality that they want to see in their business so that they can produce the results that they want, instead of hoping, which is not a strategy, that things will just work out, or winging it, which is also not a strategy around running your business and making things happen from the financial side.
Nice. So what are some of the things that you see other than kind of hope and prayer thing? But like, why do people go on a hope and prayer? Why do they ignore their book so much? Let's go there.
Well, so what we see often is, some people are bringing their own money mindset to their business, right? You're a whole person, whatever you do personally, you're probably going to bring it to your business, whether you're conscious of it or not. So if you are an overspender in your personal life, you might be overspending in your business. If you're a big time saver, you might be squirreling a ton of cash in your business and not really feeling the growth because you're too scared to deploy it. And I think that's one aspect of business ownership that we don't talk about often, is that we are a full person, right? So we bring what we think and how we act, and sometimes that can hinder or help us in our business journey. But also what we see is a lot of people are just not making the time to look at their numbers because they're not prioritizing it as a aspect of what they need to do in their business. Often they'll do all the marketing, they'll do all the sales, they'll do all the other things that are important. And we know you're doing 20 different things. So trust me, I know how hard it is to prioritize. But the thing that they're doing is they're sometimes working too hard to get the same results, because their numbers can tell them where they should be putting their effort, where they should be doubling down on the things that are working. And so unless they take a step back to look at the numbers, pause and look and see where are things that are working well, where are things that are not working well that we should cut or do less of, or maybe we want to try some new things and that's fun. And we want to monitor and track performance on those. And so instead of working harder, you maybe need to simplify your business, work smarter by doing the things that are working. And your numbers tell the story of where that is and the opportunity areas, as well as allow you to be creative and creating new ways that you can serve your clients or customers or whoever, is buying your products, and really create the type of offers that, could be the next big hit, but you wouldn't know what that is unless you looked at your numbers and said, oh, well, we started here and we improved and we're making progress and we're growing, versus we have no idea where we started. We have no idea where we're going. And we're just like, hoping that it all work out at the end. And we say, hope is not a strategy because it's true. The numbers don't lie. And either you got results or you didn't get results. So going back to the numbers really just becomes a foundational aspect of running business. And at the end, it's what gets you out of business the fastest. If you run out of cash, if you're not collecting, those things are going to be real problems.
And do you find that it's usually people that have cash flow, like they have business coming in, they have things that are moving and shaking, and they're still struggling, going like, I don't get it, I should be somewhere else by now. Like, is that the kind of mentality that's going on with most of your clients, or is there something else that they're just not seeing it?
So we see a few things and they're just like trends that we notice, right? One is the clients are feeling like things should look better. Like their
Mm-hmm.
numbers should look better for the amount of effort they're putting into it, for the type of services that or products that they're selling and the quantity of it, how much they're growing year over year, but they're not seeing their bank account reflect that. And they're like, I have no idea why this is broken. So I need to come and have a CFO look at this and tell me where the problem areas and how we can potentially solve them. So it could be your margins are not healthy. It could be your price strategy is completely off. You haven't updated price in 2, 3 years. Wink, wink is now the time to go assess that. And there's, pieces, or maybe you added too much cost and didn't realize when you were hiring and just trying to get help to support what was happening. And so taking a step back to really analyze what is that right cost structure, what is that right growth rate we want to go at, and what does it take to be able to support that. There's also the aspect of cash in the bank piece that I mentioned, and that is that sometimes when you have profit, that doesn't mean you have cash because you might not have collected on bills that are owed to you, or accounts that owe you money. And so if people are behind 30, 60, 90 days paying you, you're like, but I made $10,000 this month in profit, where is it? It's sitting in their bank account because it hasn't been transferred to yours yet. So there's an aspect of managing cash flow that I feel often gets missed, that does not behave the same way that your profit and loss behave. And that sometimes can be deceiving, and why you might feel like the results are not matching the bank account balance.
All of those make so much sense. And I think too that HR becomes a big one, that people aren't kind of figuring out, where does my profit have to be in order to take on a new hire? What kind of a hire really makes the most amount of sense? Because they'll sometimes will hire more technicians when really they need admin for their technicians that they do have. They're paying somebody
Exactly.
$50 an hour and they should be paying somebody $15 an hour and supporting the team. And they just don't look at things like that.
Yeah, and you want to know, and especially now, I think we're feeling even more pressure from employees to really increase the rates and like be able to do those calculations and know, can we afford it? Does it mean we have to increase prices? Does it mean we have to sell 10 times more just to be able to afford that? Or are we bringing the right roles to the company as well, right? Of what's needed, like you were saying, it's an admin support you need instead of more people on the front line. And having the right balance, the right structure really gets to answer the question before you're actually in it. And now you're just dealing with the consequences of your decisions. You want to make sure you're doing the analysis and planning for that cost, and then starting to make decisions based on what can I afford to bring this person at, and the rate and all that goes with it, right? Total compensation, benefits, insurance, payroll taxes, anything that you might be giving to the employee, to make sure that it's comprehensive and that you didn't miss out on a bunch of costs that all of a sudden are hitting your business because you didn't think about it beforehand.
Right? When somebody is going to you and they're thinking, oh, I don't have all my books in order for the last 3, 7, 10 years, whatever it might be, and they want to get them all in order first before they come to you, what do you say about that?
Well, that is the equivalent of saying, I have a broken leg, but I'm going to wait to see if it heals before I go to see a doctor. And I'm kind of thinking you probably should go to the emergency room right now and get it seen and to get it diagnosed and tell you exactly how the treatment and what they need to do to get it back to being healed. And it's no different with the CFO. Our function is we come into the mess and we organize that chaos. We make sense of the numbers. We make sure the numbers are accurate, that we have a solid foundation to work out of before we start to do the projection or the forward looking side of planning that the business requires in order to succeed. And so if you don't even know your numbers are right today, you're not going to be able to plan for the future. So we start there always on that foundation. And if the foundation is broken, that's okay. We know how to repair it. And that's why we also offer, professional bookkeeping services in-house, because what we've seen often is either the owner wasn't on top of the books, or like their bookkeeping team just they ended up outgrowing their bookkeeping team's ability to support them because they brought more complexity to their business, or they maybe didn't have the right skill set. And, sometimes we do encounter really great bookkeeping teams that we can work with and partner with because they've been keeping up the books and things are good. that's rarely the case. So if you come to us with like the books that are not up to date, they're behind, they're messy, or why not, we begin to help you, get all that cleaned up and then make sure you have the right insights and then that your numbers feel solid before we build any kind of growth on top of that. Because if we start with what's broken and we just build on it, we are going to be on shaking foundation and we would never do that. So, bring in your books the way they are. And we don't judge. We know this happens. We know people are busy. We know that they have so many things they have to handle that this is kind of the last thing they want to be doing is being in QuickBooks or whatever, fixing their books. Like we love it. Most people don't. And that's why, we get brought in to help support the team in that way.
I love it. Well, and I had somebody once saying, "Oh, I'm just going to do all the data entry first, and then I'll come to you." And it's like, no, don't do, like, do you have any idea how long that's going to take you to do that? And we can get that done in like, 1/8 the time. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, no, you're trying to solve a problem with a problem that you already have. It's
Yeah, and if
not a
time is
really
the
good idea.
issue, like we can save you that time by outsourcing it to us. And we also know the right way to do it, which will save you a ton of headaches down the road. And we can probably do it way faster than you can and more accurately. So, like, we see books time and time again. So we know what we're looking for. We know how the panel needs to look at the end of the day and the outcome we need to see from that work. And we can help guide your team, your existing bookkeeping team, if you want to keep them on to just, do the work differently or improve so that we can see what we need on the P&L so we can make better decisions for the business financially.
Nice. Well, and I know too that you guys have a framework that you work with. Tell us a bit more about that one.
Yeah, so we revisit 5 aspects of every business, profitability and just making sure financially that they're healthy. We look at capacity and cash flow. Capacity, like your ability to produce results, the team appropriate size and such, and the cost structure for that. Cash flow to make sure that we have, enough cash to facilitate the growth of the business and making sure that we don't run out of cash before we, go into the next phase of growth in the business. And also just even if you're sustaining, you still need cash to be able to, pay the bills and afford everything. We do planning, which is the forward looking, making sure we understand what needs to happen in the next 3, 6, 12 months in your business. How do we shape that future to make intentional decisions now so that we're not, in a point where maybe we don't have the profit we want or the margins that we need to have to run a successful business. And then we look at pay because I think often, and maybe a lot of your audience will agree with me in that as business owners, we're the first ones to cut our pay to make sure everyone else gets paid. But we also have bills to pay. And so I find that really hard to do. And we prioritize pay for not just the team, but also for the business owner to make sure that they're getting what they need out of their business. They put their soul and heart into it. There's no way we're going to make them walk away with, a lack of profit. And then the fifth one around profitability, because we know that being profitable should be the goal, not just what is your revenue, but really what's left after you pay yourself and taxes and everyone else in the team. What is left for you to reinvest back in the business, which is another piece of, the scaling and growing. But maybe sometimes it's just retaining earnings and having money in the bank account to build a cushion for runway for a rainy day. Or it is to maybe go after an exciting opportunity when the time presents itself. And I find often that businesses are not ready because they don't have the cash flow, right? And so by preserving some of that cash for those opportunities, could be acquiring another business, it could be bringing on an ideal, perfect candidate that you've been hoping that will show up a year from there and finally did, and now you can't afford to hire them because you don't have the cash in the bank, and being able to bring them on earlier than you plan because you got those 2-3 months of payroll cover before anything goes wrong. So just having that fund for opportunity is always another piece that we want to prepare businesses for. And then, again, a rainy day doesn't hurt to have it because you never know when leads might go down or when business, might not be booming, and you can afford to take the time. You're buying the luxury of time to be able to respond to the problem instead of having to react and make really quick moves and bad decisions, because when you're desperate you make bad decisions as a business owner because you're like, I need to pay payroll in 2 weeks and I don't have the money for that. So then you start to do weird things to bring money in, and we don't want to have you in that position. We can just take a step back and say, okay, what do we need to solve? We have time. We have 2-3 months to make this problem go away. What are we going to do? And then wait to see the results of those initiatives before we go into desperation mode trying to solve the problem.
Nice. Love it. So with your framework, is it kind of you need to have a foundational thing, you need to have these things in place before you can go up a level, or is it just totally sporadic and it depends on your business and what you got going on and where as to what needs to be in position first in order to make sense of it all?
Yeah, so we prioritize based on what the business is going through. So we will evaluate all 5 areas to make sure everything is working well. But if I have a business shows up and says, I can't make payroll in 2 weeks, that's a cash flow issue. We're going to solve that first. So we don't care about profit. We don't care if other things are happening, like it's cash flow and pay that we need to address first. So we'll start with that because every business has their priorities and we try to solve for the most critical priority first, because once we get out of survival, then we can do all the planning and all the other things that we want to tackle around capacity and overall profitability. But we can't do that when we're in a state of emergency. So we need to make sure they're out of that first. If the business is already running well, they just know they want to grow and they need some clarity around that growth, then we might start with planning first, because we know we have the cash runway. We know that, from a capacity perspective, we can grow the capacity beyond, with the current team. And we don't have a problem around pay, then we're definitely going to prioritize planning first. And we tend to start with clients by doing some of the planning anyways, because I feel like without a plan, we don't really know what we're aiming at. And it's really hard if you don't have goals. How do you know if you're achieving them? Or what is even your starting point, right? Because sometimes it's about progress, not necessarily perfectly hitting profit goals every month. Sometimes clients are negative, $200,000, and we need to get them out of the hole. And so progress looks like maybe next year you're $100,000 in the hole, and then the year after you're break even. So it's not even like how much profit, but really like the progress on percentage difference every year that we're making by bringing us on the team, but then also adding value above and beyond what our cost is as CFO to make sure that the results are there for the owner.
What kind of things are you looking for other than sales when somebody's under a cash flow crunch? Because I know a lot of entrepreneurs that I talk to, they're like, oh, I just need to do more sales. And it's like, puts a lot of pressure on your sales team, and that may not be accurate.
Yeah, sales are great, but sometimes you might just be fueling the fire to bankruptcy faster than you think. And we never want to do that. And not saying that that is always the case, but I think what I find often is like there is a root cause to the issue that sales is not going to address, right? Because if you just try more sales and nothing is changing and things are just getting worse, you're not addressing the problem. And so what we want to do is start looking at margins. We want to start looking at pricing strategy. We want to make sure that the capacity that you use to deliver the service or product is the right cost structure for it, or if there's efficiencies we need to drive in that area, and making sure that we start to create a plan towards how do we move forward into those stages of improvement. And those are never easy conversations because, you're in a crunch and you're just trying to get money to solve the problem right now because you're like, wow. And at times we're able to help clients qualify for lines of credit or something to buy us the time we need to get to that point. Now, if you're in a cash flow crunch, most likely your results don't look good financially, so you won't qualify for a line of credit. So you need to get the line of credit before you start to have issues and have it on the side so that when you do have situations that you can't pull from it. But so we've had situations where we just didn't get approved for lines of credit, and situations where we have gotten approved for lines of credit because we saw some growth potential and our margins were healthy. So you need to start evaluating what is that root cause, going back to your question on what is driving the issue versus just trying to solve it by selling more and increasing your overall cost. And then you're back to just making the problem bigger and bigger and bigger every month.
So in a minute, I'm going to ask Carla about her Cinderella story. But in the meanwhile, we're going to take a little pause.
Are you running a business over 7 figures but still struggling with technology headaches? Pay attention, you do not want to miss this offer. This podcast episode is brought to you by Awareness Strategies, who is offering a custom-built digital adoption roadmap for anyone running a business over 7 figures who's wanting to grow their business in the next 5 years. And it's not just a roadmap, they offer full implementation as well if that scares the out of you. Check out awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap for more details today. The link's in the show's notes. Don't regret not doing this. Do it now. That's awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap.
So I'm super excited to find out. Can you give us an example of a Cinderella story of one of your clients?
Yeah, so we had several clients over the last 5 years that we were working with new businesses. And there was, and we keep everything confidential for our clients because that part of the work we do, we want to make sure stays that way. And so, when we're talking about the clients growing over time and making a plan to 4x the size of a company, that takes a huge amount of effort on our end to really understand, like, what are some of the variables that need to go into creating a solid plan. Obviously, we already had some success going into this client's business. We saw that they could sell, they had traction. Like, that part is always a really easier way to work with a client than maybe someone who's trying to figure out what they're selling, who they're selling it for, right? So this was about adding the right amount of team to support growing the capacity. And 4x is really aggressive, as you know. That doesn't really happen often, and it takes a really certain kind of individual to be able to drive to that. But we had a really solid team on the leadership side, and then we needed some additional we'll say field workers, to help with the operations of the business. And so we worked through making sure the pricing strategy was accurately for the services that we were providing and the products that we were selling, and then making sure that that sales pipeline was healthy going into it as well. And so we increased the investment on the sales side to ensure that, that was generating the leads we needed to be able to have this type of growth in the business too. So we're not just saying like 4x and then like, good luck, everyone. And we're really
if you did some stuff, you might work better.
We're really thinking about what does it take, right? And I think this is the missing piece on a lot of plans or financial planning, is that what are action steps 1 through 10 you need to take to be able to achieve this goal? And also, at the end of the day, what is the right cost structure to support it? Do you have the right people in the right place? Are you hiring at the right time? And being able to outline that in a financial comprehensive plan that said, we're going to hire 3 people. These are the timelines for that. We have the money to do so because we already built the reserves ahead of this hiring. And we know that our margins were super healthy because we had done the pricing analysis and the margin analysis on what that needed to be in order to be able to successfully scale. And then along the way, we made changes to the plan as well, because we knew that there were new things we needed to prioritize. The sales pipeline was healthy, but we still decided to bring in a fractional CMO to help accelerate that and do more of the developing of the process needed there. And so, we brought in other experts along the way to make sure that we had what we needed, and that changed the plan, but it still we still were able to achieve the growth we need. Not without pain. That was a really painful amount of growth and a lot of lessons learned, and navigating that as a leadership team was also challenging to make sure we had the right people in the right place. We had the right amount of products, being sold, and that we're hitting the monthly goals, and tracking and monitoring that performance along the way was really key in being able to achieve that aggressive growth rate. And we, attempted to do this the next year, 2x, and that didn't work out. So like, it's not always going to happen just because we want it to happen. And I think it's another lesson for business owners. Just because you plan for it, we still got to do the work to achieve it and make sure that it is, sustainable.
I love it. So what are some of the struggles that somebody might be having right now as you're listening to this and going, oh my God, Carla, I need you so badly?
Yeah, so they might be saying like, I really don't know what my bookkeeping team is doing. I don't really get reports from them. I have no idea what my numbers are. I haven't looked at them in the last 12 months. Or, hey, it's tax time. I really need to look at my numbers now, right? And so they're thinking about, man, I have no idea what's going in my business financially. And they're getting that pull to understand their numbers, and they really don't even know where to start because they're overwhelmed, and they're like not sure if to call their bookkeeper or to call their accountant or to really hire a CFO, because that's where that third role really comes into play to answer the money questions and concerns that they have, and really think through going forward, what do we want to do? Not like the present and past, but really what do you want the future to look like? And they are thinking, hey, it would be great if I had goals for the next 12 months, but I haven't even gotten my butt in the chair to go do that work. And I'm definitely not going to prioritize that because I have a lot going on. And I find that when clients come to us for that support, we become the accountability as well, right? And being very honest, like if you don't have an appointment on the calendar with someone that you need to show up for to do certain work that will guide the way, it's harder. And even for myself as CFO, I can plan myself. I still have a coach that sits me down and plans with me, right? So I think that there's like this aspect of support that sometimes is overlooked. And we're always thinking about, oh, a CFO is so expensive. Like, can I afford a CFO? And the reason we do fractional services is because we make the executive leadership level CFO with expertise and experience you need accessible and affordable price. And we work with clients on like a one-time basis or an ongoing, depending on their needs and the company size. So we don't want to just add cost for the sake of adding cost, but we really want to add value to what could be created in the business if we were part of the team and working together to create that extra value above and beyond the cost for the company, but also be the one responsible for setting the direction going forward. So if you're like, I need someone to answer my money questions, and neither my accountant or my bookkeeper are picking up the phone eager to answer my questions, that is an indication that you might be ready to work with a fractional CFO to help support your path forward.
Well, and I think that one of the things that people don't realize is that the job of a CFO is to help you to strategize your business. Like tax accountants are great when they do that. Love. And I think that's highly important that your tax accountant should be doing that, especially if you don't have a CFO. And then the bookkeepers, their job is to reconcile numbers. And I think people have to understand that they're expecting way too much from people that are in that position. And with the advent of fractional C-suites, it's nirvana. Like people, you have to understand the clouds parted, the angels sang, and CFOs came out of the sky. It's like C-suites were everywhere and accessible, which makes such a huge difference, because that's the reason why big businesses succeed and little businesses go down, is because they're not getting that outside help that they need. And to be able to just pop their head in for, sometimes it's an hour, and it's like, oh my God, I didn't know that. That is so epic, and just makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and I think that you hit the nail on the head by saying like big companies have this, right? They have access to full-time CFOs and a whole staff that helps doing financial planning for them. Now, you might not be able to afford that yet, and one day
you don't need that
will
either.
be the case. You also do not need that level of support, right? And sometimes just accessing the strategy, even if it's, a one-time project or like an ongoing level of support that's appropriate for your size of business, will make a huge difference, because it's now forcing you to think about the future and proactively shape it so that you can see the financial performance and results you want to see in your business, versus just waiting for whatever happens and however it happens, and then finding yourself in trouble, or maybe you're doing just fine, but you could do so much better if you had that proactive approach to planning in your business.
All right. So I know our listeners are going to want more from you. How do they start that journey with you?
Yeah, so they can reach out on our website at wealthworthwithin.com. There is a contact page where you can book a free discovery call to see if, your business needs a fractional CFO. We'd love to talk to you about if we're the right fit and what support level we could come in to support you. If you're not ready to hire a CFO but want to stay in touch, we have a newsletter we send out monthly on our website. You can just sign up for that. And we share a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes in our business, but also like how we work with clients and any ways that, we can support you, the services that we offer, and, what we're offering in that given month. And then if you want to get free educational content for your business finances so you can improve on it, make sure to follow us on social media at Wealth Worth Within on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn for all that free content that hopefully you can take action on and implement right away to improve your finances in the business.
So I know our listeners are going to want more from you. We got that part crack. I was enamored by that stuff, and I'm going, yeah, let's go do that. We will, of course, have all of Carla's links in the show notes. So go ahead and scroll down on those, click them, open them up in a new browser, because we're not done yet. So Carla, I get to ask you, at what point in life did you know you were special, kind of crazy enough to think that you could become an entrepreneur?
Funny enough, it actually started early in life. I used to buy color pens and sell them at school to my classmates because, that was fun. And I love to crunch the numbers, and I've always been a numbers person. So I think I knew that would serve me well. And I love to earn money. And so I was like, oh, I can pair those skills together. Lucky for me. And when I realized I wanted, some balance in my life and like be able to work my own hours and be my own boss, I decided that this was, worthwhile pursuing. I know, crazy, like all of us are about, business ownership. I find it just interesting to be able to put my skills to real test with not just my own business, but also with the businesses that we support to really help them improve on their finances. And I just think it's so fun to be able to see businesses succeed and grow because of the support that we bring them, but also see my own.
Awesome. You have been absolutely awesome. Any last words for our peeps?
Go look at your numbers if you haven't. Make sure you put that on your calendar reminder to look at once a month. You'll be surprised. I think people sometimes shy away from it because they think it's so bad or they don't like the results, but at least you know where you're at and can improve from there. So just start with that. I know that's a big ask for some people, but just open up your P&L, see what it says. And then if you don't like it, you can make progress towards improving that.
I love it. Yeah, I'll mention it afterwards. Just popped an idea in my head and it's silly and I'm not going to mention it. You're going to have to email me to find out what it was. Carla, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And I know how valuable it is.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Peeps, this is Michelle Nedelec. Thank you for being here with us today. Be sure to subscribe to the show and share it with your friends. We love helping entrepreneurs grow.
Are you running a business over 7 figures but still struggling with technology headaches? Pay attention, you do not want to miss this offer. This podcast episode is brought to you by Awareness Strategies, who is offering a custom-built digital adoption roadmap for anyone running a business over 7 figures who's wanting to grow their business in the next 5 years. And it's not just a roadmap, they offer full implementation as well if that scares the out of you. Check out awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap for more details today. The link's in the show's notes. Don't regret not doing this. Do it now. That's awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap.